football is one of the most watched and played sports in America. There's over 32 teams in the NFL. In 2018, over 87% of the population in America watched at least one game of football each week. The Indianapolis Colts have a rich history, and hopefully after this speech you have enough information to start liking them. It all began in Baltimore in 1953 on January 23rd. They played in Baltimore, Maryland, and they're a huge reason why the NFL started to get followers. The Baltimore loved their Colts. They got their name because horse breeding is very popular in Baltimore, and a colt is a young horse. It even had Nixon present at the time watching the games sometimes. They were pretty bad at first, but it just took a little bit of time for them to get good. The draft of 55 was really good for them. They went from the worst defense to the best defense in that draft. They also found a guy named Johnny Unitas. He was playing for an unprofessional team for $6 a game, which is equivalent to $58 to today's money. Joke has it that he'd be a future Hall of Famer for the Colts. If you were to play in today's generation of football, he'd probably be considered one of the greatest of all times, but he played in a run-heavy league back then. They also had a good guy named Lenny Moore, who's also another Hall of Famer. He was a great running back for the Colts. In just 5 years of existence, they made it to the championship against the Giants, and they would win in an OT thriller, 23-17. They continued that success. Next year, they played the Giants again, and they were going to be close this time. It'd be 31-17, and that's really impressive for them to win 2 championships in just the little amount of time that they were a team. 1964 was another great season for them. They got new head coaches. McCaffrey was his last name. And Johnny Unitas won MVP, and Lenny Moore rushed for 20 rushing touchdowns. They would play the Browns in 64, but would lose in a blowout, 27-0. But in 68, they beat them 34-0 to get revenge. They would make it to their first Super Bowl against the Jets, Super Bowl III. They would lose at 16-7, and then they would also play a Super Bowl 2 years later against the Cowboys in Super Bowl V, and the rookie kicker Bill O'Brien would kick the game-winning field goal to get the Colts their first Super Bowl. 1974, they were a fun young team playing around, and they made the saying "shake and bake," and that was the last time the Baltimore Colts were good. In 1983, the Baltimore Colts left Baltimore unexpectedly, and people there were crushed because they love their Colts. They moved to Indianapolis in 1984 and began playing there, and the owner was Robert Irsay, who his son is now the owner today, Jim Irsay. And they were pretty bad when they first started. Their first win came against the Bills, but in the 3 seasons of existence, in Indy, they won a total of 12 games. The first famous Colt to play for them was Eric Dickerson. They came in a major trade, including 6 draft picks and 2 players to get him, but he had a major impact. He's famous because he holds, to this day, the rushing record for amount of yards in a season. He got the Colts to the first playoff game in Indy in '87, but they lost. 1995, they had a magical run to the AFC Championship. If you're a Ohio State fan, you know who Jim Harbaugh is. He's the quarterback who led them to the magical run. Each team they played in the playoffs, they were favored. The other team was favored by 10+ points, and they won all those games, but they lost to a heartbreaker in the championship to the Pittsburgh. 1998, they drafted one of the greatest players of all time, Peyton Manning. He was the first overall pick and had a really rough rookie year. He has the record to this day of the most interceptions by a rookie quarterback, and next year was completely different. They went 13-3, had one of the most explosive offenses in NFL. Famous players, Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, and they went to the first playoff game held at Indy in 2000. They would have bad playoff luck through 2004. They won some MVP titles. In 2006, they finally made it to the Super Bowl. and beating their rivals, the Patriots, in the AFC Championship. They play the Bears, and they win 29-17, and Manning would finally get his first Super Bowl and even get their Super Bowl. In 2008, they get their new stadium, and they went 15-1 the next year, and they would, on the game-winning drive in the Super Bowl against the Saints, Peyton Manning threw an interception, and the Colts ended up losing that game in a heartbreaker. In 2011, Peyton Manning had neck surgery, and he ended up out the whole year, and the Colts split ways with him. It was a sad day for Colts fans. And then in 2012, Colts drafted my favorite player of all time, Andrew Luck. He turned a 2-14 team to 11-5 team 3 consecutive seasons. He had a great playoff luck, good playoff wins, and he even took the Colts to the AFC Championship one year. Luck had really bad injuries. He had a ruptured kidney, injury with skiing accidents, and that would ending up having him a short career. Colts would have great draft picks of Darius Leonard and Quentin Nelson, first team All-Pros. Luck's comeback, he finally came back and had a healthy year in 2018. They started out 1-5 and 10-6, and then they get all the way to the divisional round and lose there. And that'd be Luck's last year. In 2019, Luck unexpectedly retired, and I was devastated. They had a pretty rough year, but would continue to do well in the draft. Colts today have one of the best defenses in the league. They are currently 8-4, and the quarterback is Phillip Rivers. The future is pretty shaky because we don't know what's going to go on with the quarterbacks, but hope for the best. So, in conclusion, we can say that the Colts have a pretty rich history, and hopefully after this speech you have enough information to start liking the Colts. Thanks.